Dark Souls. It's a name that is pretty much synonymous with ambiguous storytelling and difficulty in video games. It also just happens to be one of my favorite games ever, as well. Truly, the world of Lordran and From Software's signature combat style culminates into what I could only describe as a perfect storm. So, since you did click on that spicy thumbnail of mine, it is time for me to give you a rundown on why I love Dark Souls so much, starting with its lore and setting. The realm in which this game takes place is Lordran, Land of the Gods. This is where the first true bastion of humanity was built, thanks to Lord Gwyn and his compatriots, Seath the Scaleless, Grave Lord Nito, and the Witch of Izalith, along with, well, you know, the rest of humanity. But of course, naturally, you are nothing compared to them. You are but a lowly, chosen undead. And of course, being the chosen undead means that you have to embark on a holy pilgrimage to link the first flame. But why does your character do this? And that's where my appreciation for the setting of Dark Souls comes to play. You see, Lordran is not the way it was so many years ago after the erection of its civilization. Instead, you get to visit it and experience it at its absolute worst, where what was has now fallen, and there really is no innocent life left, as they have either died or became hollow. To give a quick description, going hollow is the game's way of illustrating the loss of all motivation, where one functionally loses their mind and becomes a zombie. Well, they become hollow. They have lost their will to continue. But that's exactly why Dark Souls is so special to me. Most other games, especially fantasy ones, take place in a society going through the motions or possibly at wartime. This is not one of those typical archetypes. No, this is Dark Souls, baby, and we getting depressed out here. And so, to close off this section, the motif of the entire series is the suppression of inevitability. Linking the first flame is a temporary process, and whenever Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, did just that, many years ago, it caused him to go hollow. The very king of the world at one point, the man who developed the ability to cast bolts of lightning and rendered the boundless wasteland of stone-scaled drakes to near extinction. Yeah, that guy. He linked the fire, and he couldn't even keep his own mind in check. Now, the first flame requires more than that to run hot and true, but that again is the suppression of inevitability. This dark fantasy world was not meant to succeed. The story is just as much about the fall of man as it is the rise. But with that, there is hope. The tenacity and determination of humankind is tangible in this world, even populated by what was. There are still people not giving up. Solaire, Siegmeyer, Logan, Patches, just to name a few. And while, yes, most of their stories always end in going hollow, that isn't really the point unless you, well, make it the point. Ah, well, geez, that was a real downer, but hey, you know what? Let's talk about the combat now. The premise is simple. You have two main attacks bound to your R1 and R2, a roll, a parry, and a block. 5 input avenues to make your quest of hurting things in a proficient manner possible. Now, here's the cool thing about Souls, why it's definitely in the upper echelon of gaming, the freedom of expression. With this combat system, that is very much tangible. You can choose literally any weapon in the game and just roll with it. Of course, there is a meta, but that's fine because there will, well, always be a meta in anything that lets you hurt people with more than just, one item. In fact, just to prove my point, during this playthrough I chose to be deprived, because it is the Sigma male option, and used only my club throughout the entire game. To add further insult, I only used the Undead Soldier chest piece, and well, later on, the gold-laced arms because it made my beef jerky man look a little bit more buff. You can do any build you want really, and it still comes out on top. It's only how practiced you are in the combat mechanics and how well you know the moveset of your enemies. Any game that lets me be the base level all the way to the end is my kind of game. So how about those light RPG mechanics and leveling? Happy medium is oversimplifying it. You can still min-max your build to your heart's content, but yet the more casual audience like me can feel comfortable in knowing their build isn't perfect but still functions well and effectively. This is a hard story to believe, but back whenever I was 12 or so, it's a rough estimate, my friend noted that I would really enjoy Dark Souls and vehemently recommended it to me. But it wasn't until a few years later, during the heyday of the original Xbox One, that I played the first Dark Souls. Somehow, someway, I managed to finish the entire game with base health stat, meaning that I was getting one-shot by just about everything past the introduction of Anorlando. But I was glued. It's weird. But yet, I completely understand why I was able to subject myself to it, because I wanted to see it through to the end, and be able to brag for years on later, which I did, that I was able to finish Dark Souls with 12 vitality. It's stupid, I know, but that's what encompasses the appeal of it all. Not necessarily brag factor, but self-actualization. If I could do this one thing, then I'm cool. I get to enter the salty spittoon, and I am officially not some weenie hut junior beta. Moving on now, it wouldn't be a Dark Souls video if we did not talk about the level design. Interconnectivity is the name of the game, and game is good. Dark Souls was built in such a way that there's at least 2 ways to enter every single area in the game before the midpoint when you enter Anorlando, with, a little bit of exceptions here and there. In fact, here, I put 2 clips of me going to the infamous Blight Town right next to each other. The one on the left will be of me using the Valley of the Drakes, the entrance right under Firelink Shrine, and on the right will be of me taking the more intended pathway through the sewers. Both ways are correct and completely function well. I highly recommend you take the Valley of Drakes entrance, assuming you have the Master Key. But I mean, look, it's just it's the point. It's so good. You can do whatever you want, really, just as long as you get there and, well, do it. It's really, really cool. Now, this isn't the only case of having an area with multiple entrances. I mean, take the Darkroot Forest, for example. You can be lame and down 20,000 souls on the crest of Artorias, or you can be a cool kid and take the Darkroot Basin entrance next to the absolutely massive Hydra. You get to the same place, all with a little bit of an explorative mindset. Composed by the criminally now underutilized Motoi Sakuraba, the dark fantasy elements come out to play in the music. The most important thing to note in Dark Souls is that you do not hear music unless you are fighting a boss, with the only exception being select few areas. The most noteworthy, Firelink Shrine and Ash Lake for me. Since we are at the music section, I like to talk about the Smo in the room. Gwen's theme. A typical final boss is about the big, boisterous clash of fates and ideals with monster orchestras breaking strings and vocalists tearing their vocal cords out, but for Gwen? No, the exact opposite. The complete subversion of the player is what makes the only piano piece in the game become so moving. This took me away the first I heard it. Like I said, complete subversion of expectation in the absolute best way possible. There is just no other way to end a game as somber and depressing as Dark Souls. I mean, I'm telling you, it's still just as beautiful as when I heard it roughly 7 years ago. I mean, there's just nothing magnanimous about fighting the husk of a man that once ruled the world right at the cusp of his great achievement. It's depressing and accentuates the motif of the suppression of inevitability that I discussed earlier. But for Firelink Shrine, we really need to talk about the music and just how nice, somber, relaxing, but fulfilling it makes you feel whenever you return to it after each and every adventure. Firelink Shrine is the first of few areas in the game that have a natural ambient soundtrack to it. This was of course done intentionally, since Firelink Shrine is a place that you will visit quite often and is the linkway between different areas of the game. But okay guys, bear with me here. Okay, you know what? Hear me out. Okay. Blighttown is actually pretty cool. A dilapidated shanty town in the air put together with spit, some nails, and definitely some tetanus gives a feeling indescribably right to me. In the remaster, I should say, we all remember that Blighttown had unplayable frame rates back in the PS360 era, but at a smooth 60 with recording software on, it's not bad at all. And even can be a little bit tantalizing, if I'm being honest. And I mean, come on, it's the only entrance to Ash Lake. I mean, yeah, I know. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna go there. In fact, you know what? We're gonna go there right now. Now, if it's one thing that is hard to do in video games, it's getting scale right. I mean, it's hard to get it done correctly, and I can't really fault anyone for, doing it wrong. But see, whenever it is done correctly, it creates this air of awe for that subject. In this case, it's the boundless ocean and inconceivably massive treetops that hold up the world. But there is something cynical in my head when I talk about Ash Lake, like, if it was in any other game or medium, I feel like it wouldn't have that same majesty. But don't worry, I know exactly why. It's because of how you get there. See, look, watch me trudge through the bottom floor of Blighttown, what could be a mile away, to the big tree. Climb inside it, and there exists one measly chest containing a plank shield. You see, Miyazaki and From Software wanted you to feel gypped by that chest, by that plank shield. It's like you walked all the way fending from poison and slugs only for some stupid planks of wood that you can wear in your hand, even if that sounds kind of cool. They want you to hit that tree, so angrily, you might just do that only to discover there's an invisible wall right next to that chest. But it's just another empty room, but now you're curious, so you start hitting every wall until you reveal the interior of the Great Hollow. How do they expect anyone to find this? You say as you traverse the tree. This is so cool, you say. I bet there's more to uncover. Until you carry on through the wood until you reach the bottom expecting some kind of treasure. Nothing too big. It was really more about the journey, not the destination. Well, I mean, yeah, that is until you reach the motherlode of awe, Ash Lake. You see, there's build up to all of this, and that's why it works. Like, God, I just love Ash Lake and its execution. But that really is just a perfect transition to get to my real final point, the culmination of all. Dark Souls assumes your intelligence. You see, this game is set up in such a way that where you can, well, royally screw yourself, or you can take the easy way out and grab this Vihander and absolutely dominate the playing field. But yes, it is completely up to you to uncover the lost truths of Lordran and take part in other people's journeys. And you can do that, well, any way you want, with your choice of weapon, build. And there are just some things so obscure in this game, it's a literal miracle that it was ever discovered. But that's exactly why From Software took the direction they did, because they knew that gamers were the next step in the evolution of mankind. But yeah, that's really about it. I mean, that's why I love Dark Souls, man. It's so cool. There's really not a lot of things like it, even now, with all the clones and such, because none of them really ever capture that same essence, that feeling. Like, even Dark Souls itself and Soulsborne can't even really capture the same feeling as the original. Even if I actually end up preferring Bloodborne and DS3, there's just something amazing about Dark Souls 1. Something that, well, probably will never be replicated, ever. And I really don't think it should. But so, yeah. Why do I love Dark Souls so much? Well, I think I just told you why. Hey there. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is me in post about maybe 15 hours later of just constant editing. I did it all in one day. I feel pretty proud about that. And yeah, please like, comment, favorite, whatever. Subscribe, share, please share. That helps a lot, I've heard. This is my first video ever, so I mean, hey, as far as everything goes, I'm pretty proud of it. Yeah. Have a good night.